Hey y'all, it's October, so that means many of you are applying for jobs and internships. You might be submitting applications and you might not be hearing back. It may be because your resume is not best representing you as a worker and as a person. So I'm going to cover some of the most common resume mistakes that you may be making. Disclaimer, I am not a trained HR professional in any way, shape, or form. However, I have been involved in the hiring process a few times, especially for interns and entry-level employees. And I have spoken to dozens of industry professionals who do their own hiring. So this is based on my own experience. Number one, your resume may be too long. Most resumes only need to be a page. Even if you have a ton of experience, chances are whoever's reviewing your resume is only going to read the first page. So make sure that you keep it to one page and keep everything on there relevant. On the flip side, you may have too much white space. I've reviewed tons of applications for internships and found that resumes would be 2 or 3 pages long, but there was a ton of white space that was unused in the resume. What that tells me when I'm looking at a bunch of white space is that there isn't much to you. That might not be the case, but when you're leaving valuable space where you could be telling me something about yourself and you're not, there's really not much for me to go on. So make sure that you keep your resume in one page and that you're using the space effectively. Number two, you may be making simple spelling and grammar mistakes. I have read so many resumes where they had tons of great experience, but it was just filled with spelling and grammar mistakes. Now you may be thinking, well, that's not fair. Spelling and grammar shouldn't matter that much if I can do the job. But think of it from my perspective. Your resume is your one chance to really impress me. It's supposed to be something you work so hard on because it represents you. And if this document that's supposed to represent you is filled with mistakes, imagine what that tells me. It tells me either that you don't care or that you don't review. Either way, I need someone who has attention to detail or at least cares enough about themselves to review their own documents. So while it may not feel fair, it's important that you proofread your resume, have other people proofread it to avoid simple spelling and grammar mistakes. Mistake 3, inconsistency. Maybe you're getting a nice hiring manager who's really reading your resume, but chances are they're spending a minute or less reading your resume. So when your resume is inconsistent and difficult to read, they're not getting all the information and they throw you into the no pile. Here's an example. I was reading a resume where the dates of employment were all different. The first one spelled out the month and year. The next one did numbers like 9/2016, and the next one mixed it, half spelled out the month, half used numbers. It was really inconsistent and it made me work way too hard to think, okay, how long were they at each place? And that tell me, again, with the last mistake, that they didn't really care or they weren't really proofreading this document. And that to me is a big red flag. So make sure that your resume is consistent and it makes everything very clear. Mistake 4, your resume may be irrelevant to the job you're applying for. If you're just starting to search for a job, you may think that a resume is just a single document, but that's just not the case. Your resume should change and should be adapted for each job you're applying for. If you're like me, you had tons of little odd jobs throughout your college experience. When I graduated college, I had 10 jobs. Whenever I'm crafting my resume for a new application, that I pick the most relevant experiences to the application. When they post a job, they tell you exactly what they're looking for, so use that. Figure out how to make your resume specific to the job you're applying for. Get rid of things that are irrelevant and include things that are relevant. Do you have to craft your resume brand new every time? No, of course not. You should have one master document that you can edit and create new documents for each application. But make sure your resume is relevant to the job you're applying for. Mistake 5, your resume may be too general. This is especially a problem for people just entering the workforce because they tend not to think of the things they accomplished in their previous jobs. Like I said, the hiring manager looking at your resume may not have that much time. So when things are too general, you're not giving them enough information. So what can that mean? Say you did an internship where you led a team to work on a specified project. So if you just included, worked on this project, that's way too general and it doesn't give enough information. And it tells me that you may not have done much as part of that team. Versus if you say, led a team of 6 people to complete a project in 4 weeks, 2 weeks ahead of deadline, and was permanently adopted in the company, That says so much more. Another example, worked with clients versus communicated with 16 clients on a monthly basis by phone, email, in person, etc. That tells me, again, so much more. It tells me what kind of communication you did. It tells me how many people you worked with. It tells me that you can be consistent. So you don't want to be too general. You want to be very clear, very explicit. Tell them exactly what you did. Brag about your accomplishments. Give solid numbers. These specific details will make you stand out. That kind of information is what's going to make me want to get you in the door for an interview. And finally, mistake number 6, you're having no one look at your resume. If you just finished high school or college, you may think that you are an awesome writer and you don't need help. That's just not true. Everyone needs a little bit of help. Unfortunately, so many people send their resume to hiring managers, and the hiring manager is the first person to see their resume. That should never happen. Have someone look at your resume, whether it is an old boss, a friend, a professor, anyone that can proofread it, give you advice. Take advantage of these opportunities. This is why mentorships are so important, because they'll give you that advice. Don't have a mentor? Check out your college's alumni network. Almost every college has one, and these alumni sign up specifically because they want to help you get jobs. They're happy to read resumes. They're happy to read cover letters. So it's so important to take advantage of that resource. Don't let a hiring manager be the first person to see your resume. Have it go through 2, 5, 10 people, whoever needs to see it, so your resume gets so much better. In the comments below, please let me know, what are your best tips? What mistakes have you made that you want other people to know to avoid? In the meantime, if you have any questions for me, please also leave a comment, subscribe, like, share, whatever it is you do with YouTube videos, and I will see y'all next time.